Hello, everyone, and welcome. This is our information meeting for the St. Joseph Consecration. I'm very excited to see this great turnout and super excited to know that we have about somewhere around 350 people signed up for this. Tonight is the informational meeting, and many people are at home with their little kiddos or whatnot, so they're joining us online. This is being live streamed. But I'm thankful that you are here. It's always fun to talk to some real faces in front of me as well. As you came into the building, you should have received your book if you've picked it up now, or some of you already had it and are renewing your consecration. And we've also mentioned in some of the infomercials before Mass that we have the book also in Spanish, so people can order it that way as well. For those of you that are really techie and like an electronic book, you can also get them right through your phone as an electronic copy and keep up that way. I want to start out by asking you a question. I know a lot of people signed up and there was great interest, but I'm curious, how many of you, by show of hands, have ever done a consecration before? So just a small number. How many of you even heard of the word consecration? Okay. A lot of times I think as Catholics we have heard of the word consecration with regards to Mother Mary and consecrating to her, to the Sacred Heart of Jesus. The St. Joseph consecration has really become popular through Father Donald Calloway's book, and so a lot more people are becoming aware of what a consecration is. If you don't have any idea what it is, that's okay, because you're going to learn. We are going to embark on a tremendously exciting journey together over 33 days, where we will draw close to St. Joseph, but through him, Mother Mary as well, and they'll draw us right into the Sacred Heart of Jesus, which is where we all want to be. So in this first part of our meeting tonight, I just want to briefly discuss with you the plan for our consecration. So it is 33 days. It starts September 30th, so that's a week from today. And then we will finish on November 1st. And I don't know how many of you have ever made a New Year's resolution and dropped out within about the first week. Anyone? So I'm excited that a lot of people are signed up, but what I'm more excited for is to see each and every one of you on that November 1st date, getting your consecration certificate, and growing by leaps and bounds spiritually during this experience. This, like I had mentioned in the infomercials, this is my 4th time going through it. And I have the great honor to work alongside Father Cam, and then, of course, Father Donald Calloway will be leading us through the consecration, through the book, and we're going to watch a YouTube video for that as well tonight. But this journey that we're going to take together, we'll get to know each other. It's going to have a lot of interactive parts. It's going to have homework at home. We're going to have it after daily Mass. It's going to be an exciting opportunity to really go much deeper in your faith, especially in this exciting times that we're living in this year dedicated to St. Joseph. It started December 8th, and we'll finish this year on December 8th. And it's really important that we really tune into St. Joseph. In these final battles, they're against the marriage and family. And St. Joseph was so chosen by God that he was entrusted to care for both Jesus and Mary. And right now, we're entrusting ourselves, our marriages, children, everything that is important to us, to St. Joseph through this consecration as we grow together with the Holy Family. So what I'd like to do next, we're going to queue up the video for Father Donald Calloway has a phenomenal life story, like a crazy conversion story. A lot of you maybe have heard of it, or some of you have. Because we want to be brief tonight, we chose just a 7-minute YouTube video that briefly discusses his conversion story. It's definitely the short version because he has a crazy, wonderful, amazing, phenomenal thing that God just did with this man's life. But so we're going to go ahead and cue that video right now, and then we'll continue on with our meeting.
Ave Maria, it's Friar Roderick here for airmaria.com. We're in Steubenville, Ohio, with Father Dom Calloway of the Marians of the Immaculate Conception. Ave Maria.
Ave Maria.
Good to have you here, I thought.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, it's good to be here too. And so we heard that you had an incredible conversion at one point in your life, and that Our Lady had a big role in that.
She did. Yeah, you're absolutely right. A lot of people are kind of calling me the poster child for divine mercy, and that Mary's mediation and intercession really is efficacious. Now I'm a priest, obviously, but that also is because of Our Lady's intercession. And my conversion is rather long. I'll give you the short version of it. I wasn't raised Catholic. I wasn't born a Christian, wasn't born a Catholic Christian. And my family was very tumultuous when I was a young man. My mother actually remarried 3 times. It was very bad, dysfunctional family at its core. And because of that, I really had nothing to attach myself to as far as a moral system. So throughout my teenage years, really was rebellious, big time. And of course, the public school system didn't help with what they were teaching me.
Right. No, not much help there, no.
Yeah, basically, I was taught that I was nothing more than an upright monkey, and so I acted like one, basically. So I lived for my senses and all of those things. And from the years between the ages of basically 12 to 20, just lived a terrible life of sin in so many ways. Very, very far away from living in the light and living in the truth. But by the grace of God, after all of those years of just turmoil and dropping out of high school and all of those crazy things that I did, a lot of drugs, a lot of partying, things like that, my family, my mother and my stepfather, had a radical conversion to Catholicism. I like to attribute it to my craziness. I tell my mother, I'm the reason you became Catholic because I drove you nuts, She says it's partly true, but of course it was God who was leading her and drawing her heart to him, because she had a very rough life too. And so my mother just fell in love with Catholicism, and she brought along, her husband, my stepfather, and then their son, my half-brother. I was continuing my crazy life, but, as God would have it, because of the change in my family, the home was different, the environment. They were praying all the time, going to Mass faithfully and all these things. So it was just a matter of time before something happened to me.
Did you participate in those prayers at all?
Oh, absolutely not. At that time, I was as bad. Believe me, I was really bad. I had hair down to my waist. I was a real rebellious kid. But my mother had certain things around the house that I couldn't avoid. She tried to get me to go to church, but of course I said, you're crazy. At that time in my life, so at one point, after having just a rock bottom experience, and I had a lot of those, I discovered a book on Marian apparitions on my parents' bookshelf in the hallway. And I picked it up thinking, this is crazy stuff. What are they talking about? I read through the book, and it just captivated me. I mean, it just drew me in. And the person that drew me in was Our Lady, the Blessed Virgin. I didn't even know who she was. But I began to just be so drawn to this person that I couldn't see, but yet was being described as so captivatingly beautiful. And it was a beauty that wasn't poisonous, because so much of the beauty that I had experienced in the world was not a healthy beauty. It wasn't a saving beauty. It was an unhealthy attraction.
Very addicting, right?
Very much so. Very much so. And so I found myself so drawn to this person that wasn't God, but seemed to be so unique and so special. And so I just devoured this book, and that led me to read other books about the Virgin Mary, what certain saints had said, what the church was saying, and in my growing in my relationship with her, inevitably she led me to Jesus Christ, and she led me into the fullness of divine revelation, contained in the Catholic Church. And so I went through what I call a divine 2x4, divine detoxification is what I call it, of God bringing me to conversion through the Blessed Virgin into the Catholic Church, and by the grace of God and His mercy, even into the religious life and the priesthood.
Oh, that's awesome. And so Our Lady's purity brought you into a vocation of purity.
Absolutely. And she gave me my manhood back, because I thoroughly had wasted it on the things of the world, on pleasures of the flesh, on material things, on all those things. But when I was able to have this relationship with her, it was her motherhood, her femininity, that really helped me to develop as a man, so that I do see myself now, like in that line of the great ones, as a knight of Our Lady, as Militia Immaculate, a member of the army of the Blessed Virgin.
So devotion to Our Lady is often considered to be almost effeminate or something. That, but you say the exact opposite, and it's really done a lot to make you a real man, basically.
Absolutely. And to my great surprise, I wasn't the one who invented this understanding. I discovered that so many saints have been saying this from the beginning, basically. And I discovered in a book by Fulton Sheen, Archbishop Fulton Sheen, he said that Mary is the conqueror of the hearts of men, and her first conquest is Joseph. And I just totally continue in that line and give my manhood to her so that I can be virtuous, which is what manhood means. Yeah.
Now, what in a quick 15 seconds or so, what would you say is the key to, or would you tell the youth today who were in your situation you were in?
Yeah, and there's a lot of them like that. I would say at the foundation is prayer, that we have to pray to Jesus and Mary to help us to see the darkness and to surrender to the light and to find our freedom in living in the truth. I know that's hard, but there's no other way. It has to be through Jesus and Mary.
That's very beautiful, Father Dom, and we thank you. We thank Our Lady for bringing you to the priesthood and you responding for all that, and this wonderful interview. Thank you, Father.
Thank you. Appreciate it. God bless you.
Ave Maria, Father. And thank you for viewing us here at AveMaria.com. Ave Maria.
So if you would Google Father Donald Calloway or look it up on YouTube or anything like that, you will find a lot more videos, and they'll be much more in-depth because his story is truly fascinating and what he's accomplishing through his priesthood. And really, we know that Jesus doesn't waste anything. So even like St. Augustine or those that started out in their life crazy, God turns all that around and uses that for good so that they can relate to so many. So whenever you go on a journey, it's important to know who you're going on to that journey with and what has sent them on that journey. So you heard a little bit about Father Donald Calloway. I'm going to share a little bit about my little story and how I ended up being in front of you here today and working alongside Father Cam for this consecration. Unlike Father Donald Calloway, I was a cradle Catholic. I'm the middle child of 11 children. I grew up in a home where my mom actually wanted to become a nun but was discouraged by people around her, and so she was married and had 11 children. We grew up saying the family rosary every single night of my life. My middle name, my name's Sharna Marie. I was named after Mother Mary. So from the beginning, sweet little Mother Mary was in my life every day. But we grew up in a rural community in Montana, and I went to church once a week. My mom was so busy taking care of us that we never read scripture. I never studied the lives of the saints. I didn't know about things like consecration. I didn't know much about anything other than I went to church once a week. But as I was growing up, church wasn't my number one priority, although I would have told you it was. The world was my number one priority, kind of like Father Donald Calloway had said. So I sought to become good at all things. I was able to get a master's degree and 2 bachelor's degrees by the age of 22. I went on to move away from Montana to the bigger city and earned a 6-figure income. At one point, I was flying my own airplane and had a car and a truck and living the wild, fun, crazy life. But what I realized as God let me achieve every single goal in my life, we won a national championship in basketball. I didn't mention that. I did a lot of things, and God let me achieve great heights in a lot of ways. But what I found out is at the top of everything I climbed, it was completely empty. And just like St. Augustine says, our hearts are restless until they rest in you, O God. I found that true in my life. Like God had given me so many opportunities to see what it was like at the pinnacle of what you were achieving, but there was nothing there, pure emptiness. And so I kept searching and searching. And, I lived a life of sin during that time, too. I didn't get married until I was 40. But praise be to Jesus, he redeemed my life. I found my good husband, here, Jordan Siebert, and my cute son, Marcellus Siebert. And I finally was putting the pieces together and thinking about what was truly important in life. You know, my faith, family, friends. I was leaving a lot of the externals behind at this point. And as I grew deeper in my faith, the good Lord gave me a very holy priest in Montana, Father Ryan Erlingbush, who completely changed the trajectory of my life. I remember sitting in the pews one day, and he said, you know, we're called to be saints. How many of you are desiring to be saints? And I started chuckling because I'm thinking, it hasn't crossed my mind. I wanted to win a national championship. I wanted a big fat income, but becoming a saint. But he wasn't joking. He was serious. He said, God calls us to be saints, and I'm here as your priest to help you become a saint. But as an athlete, I was like, wow, that's a good coach. I'm on this, Father. Let's become saints. And so we started working hard in that parish. And I saw people leave the parish who were there to punch their time card. But I saw people coming from all other parishes who were serious about their faith and really wanted to grow in it. And I grew by leaps and bounds. I learned about the lives of the saints. I learned about the communion of saints that we profess every week at church, but what it really meant, that there are people who have walked for 2,000 years, who've fought the hard fight, who've faced every type of battle, but they have been triumphant. And how when we learn about their lives and how we draw close to them, they are interceding before the throne of God on our behalf. And as you know, today is the feast day of St. Padre Pio, and he received the stigmata on September 20th, 1918. That's not my birthday. September 20th is my birthday. I always remember it because it's my birthday. But as my life went on and I was growing in my faith, a lot of hard things happened. After I got married, I went through 5 miscarriages, and I was devastated. I was heartbroken. I was as close as I could be to God, but I was losing one baby after another. And finally, we had my son, Marcellus, and truly my little miracle in life, but 9 months later, I was diagnosed with cancer that was misdiagnosed, so it was stage 3A. And I was facing the possibility of finally being married and having a family and a son and about to die. And I couldn't believe it because I was really deep in my faith at this time. So I battled through a double mastectomy, all the chemo, all the radiation, all the things. You can see how lovely I looked at that time in my life. Pretty cute, huh? You even lose your nose hair. It's not just your eyebrows and eyelashes, you even lose your nose hair. I missed that the most, I think. But anyways, those were really, really hard times, but there were so many miracles. And as I drew close to the saints, I knew it wasn't just me. Some had been, St. Peregrine had been cured of cancer. There's been saints that have everything. If you look up a patron saint, they have been through your struggle before. And so it's just fitting today that I want to show you a St. Padre Pio quote. The storms that are raging around you will turn out to be for God's glory, your own merit, and the good of many souls. And that has proven true to me in my life. Cancer drew me closer and closer to Jesus and Mary and Joseph, the angels and the saints. At my chemo sessions, we had all sorts of friends and family, even people who didn't believe in God would come to my chemo sessions, and we would pray the rosary there. And people learned about the faith. We prayed together. We grew closer in fellowship. It was beautiful. One special thing I've learned about as you draw closer to the saints, they draw closer to you. And sweet little St. Padre Pio, he's been a blessing in my life. I was fascinated with him when I learned about the stigmata, bilocation, reading souls. He's done quite a few amazing things. But after I went through all my treatment, I got what I thought was better. We moved here in the military. My husband's a pilot at Creech, and we moved over here, and we're living in Las Vegas. And I started going to the doctor a lot with a lot of different pains, but I kept getting misdiagnosed. Finally, I demanded to have an upgrade from my normal x-rays to scans, and they found out that cancer had spread everywhere in my bones, everywhere, my whole skeletal system. They gave me less than a year to live. And it was devastating. Most of us don't think about dying, but I've kind of thought about it almost every day, really since my cancer diagnosis, especially because I have a small child and stuff. Can you show the picture, Jordan? Of when I came to church today, I had to take a picture of this, the one with in front of the church. When I walked in here, I came earlier this morning to meet with the secretaries, and This was in front of the church. Every one of us will be sitting in that car one day, and hopefully it's parked in front of a church and we get a beautiful mass. But a lot of us don't think about that. And when we have the opportunity to think about that, we can change what's important to us in our life. We can start doing things that are meaningful. And I've had that great blessing. So with St. Padre Pio, after I got cancer back everywhere, I found out that his relics on the 100-year anniversary of his stigmata were traveling the United States, and they happened to have one stop in Montana at my home parish. And this was right after I was diagnosed with the stage 4 cancer, and it was everywhere. And I was on the first plane back to Montana. And my sweet holy priest, God bless his soul, you weren't allowed to touch the relics. They were all, kept away, and people could venerate them and pray in front of them. But I had a lot of people pushing for a miracle in my life. And so he got special permission through the Organization for St. Padre Pio for me to wear the cloak of St. Padre Pio and have our priest pray over us. So there's my husband and myself. And I had sweet little St. Padre Pio's cloak around me. And I just think, what a miracle, how all these things lined up at the right time, and how St. Padre Pio was right there answering my prayers and even giving me a hug, which was with this beautiful cloak. So I can tell you, as we go into this St. Joseph consecration, we're going to draw close to all the saints. There's the saints that have written about him in this book. Of course, Mother Mary is the greatest, but she's in a category all of her own. So we consider St. Joseph to be the greatest saint. That was a regular person, not immaculately conceived or anything. We're going to draw close to St. Joseph. We're going to draw close to these saints, and we're going to watch our lives transform. We're going to watch miracles happen about us. So I hope you enjoyed and were a little bit inspired by how my life is transformed and how God has used the hurts and pains of my life to draw me close to him and give me, a great opportunity truly to prepare, for our life journey where we're headed to heaven. And now I'm really excited to introduce Father Cam. He comes to us from Africa, and I'm sure Las Vegas was quite a surprise the first time in America. But we are so blessed. Sometimes I pinch myself, and I say, what did we do to deserve this great priest in our parish? Father Bob was so wonderful to allow us to have the St. Joseph consecration, and he's such a hard worker, but some of his work he passes on to Father Cam. And so this consecration is going to be led by Father Cam. And sweet little Father Cam is going to come up and share with us a bit about his story as the leader in this consecration with you. And as we journey together, we'll learn each other's stories and how we can work together as church militant along with church triumphant, and how we'll really just grow in our faith through this consecration. So Father Cam.
Good afternoon to you all. That your story was so touching, Chana, that I had wanted you to talk more and more, but I realized, we have a time limit here. But that was very, very touching and very real, and more so that I know your story, but each time you share it, it's always really very inspiring. And also to listen to the priest, Father Calloway, am I right? Yeah. So listen to him also was very refreshing, to see his own personal journey of how he started from nowhere to where God has called him to be. I know Chana kept putting the pressure, and he said, Father Cam, you have to say something. But I said to him, look, for some reason I feel that we should focus on God. But I agree with her that sometimes it's good to talk about ourselves, to also show you where we are coming from. Growing up as a child, if I flash back at my 15th or 16th, thereabout, years, that should be around 12, 13, if I'm not mistaken. If I flash back and if you had asked me at that time whether I was going to see myself as a priest, the answer was going to be capital no. Look, I was a Catholic, following my mom to the church because I was born in a family of 5, lost my father when I was just 2 years old, so I really don't have much relationship with my father. My mother was everything to us. She really took care of 5 of us, and she was also a very strict disciplinarian, really made sure that we go to church. But I was not that very, very committed. I was just a normal Catholic boy who goes to church. Basically, I think averagely I was good. Average. I wasn't super good. I was average. But finishing up my high school, I was determined to be a lawyer. I loved the legal profession a lot. And that was what I had in mind to do. But for some reason, we had a new parish priest in my parish. He was a very young, vibrant man, was so passionate about the ministry. That was the first time I met a younger priest. The former parish priest I had was older ones, and I felt to be a priest, you have to be old. So. And somehow, because they were old, I wasn't really motivated. So when this young man was posted, and he was passionate about the preaching, about the ministry, I don't know how I got so attracted to the altar, to the way he speaks, the way he preaches. And I didn't know that was having some kind of influence in my life. I didn't even go close to him to ask him, what are you doing? How do you do it? But each time I go to Mass, I just want to listen to him. And when I finished my high school, the desire had started building up. But still, the desire to be a lawyer was still there, and so I was just juggling in between the two. And I remember in one of our family meetings when I spoke out, they were asking me, now you're finishing high school, what are you going to do? Are you going to sit for a university exam? Which course are you going to be doing? And I said to them, it was during our supper, I said, actually, for some reason, I am beginning to think that I will be a priest. I can remember the way they busted laughing. I mean, all of them thought it was a very expensive joke. Because I had no priest friend, I had no seminarian friend, and I was not too churchious. So for my, and I was the youngest then, so for my elder ones, they just felt this is just an excitement of a young boy. We ate, and nobody took me serious anyway. So next time that discussion came up again, and when I saw the way they laughed, at some point I said, maybe I'm also being too funny. Maybe this is not what I should do. But one thing my mother taught me, which was so special, was that whenever things get tough, say your rosary. My mother groomed me in the rosary. Growing up as a child, I didn't really like the rosary because it takes a lot of time. And whenever we are saying it, because you have to repeat the same thing again and again, and I wish we could say something different, but my mother insisted we have to finish it. And even when I try to sleep, she would knock my head and I wake up and we have to say it to the end. So somehow she ingrained that in our heart, that no matter what happens, talk to the Blessed Mother Mary, you'll be fine. I took the rosary, said the rosary, and asked the Blessed Mother Mary one clear intention. If this desire that is welling up in my life, if it is from God, sustain it. But if it's not from God, please let it go so that I can have peace of mind. I tell you, my brothers and sisters, that desire became stronger. It's like 10 times higher than it was. At some point, it became so wrapped in my soul that I think about priesthood. I eat, I'm thinking about priesthood. I said, what is happening? And eventually, when we had a family meeting and I brought it up again, when my mother saw how serious I was, it was funny enough, my mother was the one who was now saying, you can be a priest. I said, well, why? He said, listen, the priesthood is beautiful, the church is wonderful, I'm a Catholic, and we will die Catholics. You can be anything you want to be, help the church any way you want to help, but you can't be a priest. And I love my mom. She suffered for us. So I said, what is the reason, Mom? She said, the sacrifice is enormous. It's enormous. You cannot. She started explaining to me, Of course, I have the vague idea at that time, you can't have a family, you can't have you can't have that. She explained to me in details, you can't have your own family. You can have nothing to do with any woman in your life. You're just going to be the way you are. And God knows where they will put you. You're going to be poor forever and ever. And so it's not a life I can wish for you. And to be honest with you, that frightened me. Because also she made me, of course, being a simple woman, she made me see the priesthood as something too holy that, no, don't even try it. The sacrifice is enormous. The holiness is something, you can't approach it. Leave it. Let's just do the normal things we do in the family, go to church, worship God. Don't try it. I took my mother's advice. And in that evening, I made up my mind. I said, God is obvious. This is not going to work. And I prayed. To be honest with you, again, I said the rosary and slept. That night, I didn't sleep. And it was obvious to me, what I saw, it was almost like a dream and a vision placed in my heart to say, do not be afraid. And I woke up. And when I woke up, that same desire came up mounted even stronger. And then the next time I told my mother, I said, you know what? Mom, I have never really seriously disappointed you or disagreed with you on any serious thing. But on this one, I know I don't have the holiness it takes to be a priest. The sacrifice is enormous. I don't even know how I'm going to handle it. But I will try. My mother said, what? Are you serious? I said, yes. At that point, it was my eldest brother who came to my aid. My eldest brother said in the family meeting, he said, you know what, guys? This guy is still very young. The journey to the priesthood we learned takes a lot of number of years. It takes almost 9 years. Let's give him a chance. If he goes and he's not able to do it, he will come back. He will realize how difficult it is himself. If we stop him now and tomorrow he doesn't become, he's going to blame us for everything. I said, okay. They said, okay, it's a good idea. Let him go. He will find it out himself. He will discover that it's not an easy life and he will come back. And I went. And to be honest with you, of course, it's not an easy journey, but every moment I spent in the seminary was a fulfillment for me. A night before my ordination, my brother came to me and he called me when we were prepared and he said, so you're becoming a priest tomorrow? I said, yes. He said, it's amazing. At the beginning, we didn't take you serious. So God actually called you. I said, that is what it looks like. Then he says to me, we will support you all the way. We will support you all the way. But he said, but in case, even if you find the life difficult as a priest, come back, we'll still accept you. We'll still accept you. But at this point, the tragedy I experienced, which really broke my heart, was 5 months to my ordination, my mother died. But at that point, she has already accepted. She was looking forward to the ordination, and the whole family was now looking forward to the whole thing. And that, just like Chana was saying, when my mother died, that was a big challenge. I said to myself, God, what are you doing? She wasn't really that sick. And she was in her late 60s. So I couldn't even bury my own mother as a priest. Why not give her at least 5 months? Why would you do this? I almost lost my faith. I almost lost the vocation, except a dear friend who was in the seminary with me. He came to me and said, Carmelus, when you become a priest, God is equipping you. You're going to encounter the same situations. God knows what he's doing. Don't give up. And I thank him so much. Eventually, I became a priest and the journey continues. It's been, of course, the challenges are there, but whenever I look back, I thank God I chose to serve him as a priest. I am not yet as holy as I would want to be. The challenges are still there, but I could see that when God calls you, he doesn't look back, he sustains you. So I think, like she said, as we go through this journey, one thing I would want you to really have in mind is, what is your intention for this? God is serious with us. If he can call me from my humble beginning, from nothing, to be a priest, transform almost dead woman to be somebody who will stand before you today, talking about faith. Look at a man who has almost gotten lost in the world, becoming on his way to sainthood, writing book for us to inspire us. Then you can tell that your own situation is nothing that God cannot change. So please, as we begin this journey, I want you to have an intention. Make up your mind what you want from God. And I have no doubt you will end these 33 days with an enormous miracle. Remember, God is looking for those who are ready to be surprised. And I know you are going to benefit from that surprise. Thank you very much. And I've taken so much time. But
Thank you, Father Cam. I love hearing his stories. I wish he would just keep talking and talking. So we're trying to keep the meeting under an hour. At this point, what I want to do is just briefly, so you understand this book. The way he wrote it, it's kind of confusing the first time I went through it because there's just so much there. The way he wrote this book is basically the litany of St. Joseph makes up the 33 days. So when you go through it, each line of the litany is going to be a day. There'll be a 2-page reading that kind of discusses that line of the litany. And then it goes into an in-depth reading, and then it finishes with the Litany of St. Joseph prayer. So just to make it easier for you, we made a syllabus because in 33 days, about 10 days take a little while. About 20 days, the reading happens real fast, and you pray the litany, and you're done real quickly. But on those 10 days, if you put it off to the last thing of the day, the last time I went through it, I was in Montana on vacation, and my son sleeping next to me, I had a flashlight out in my bed at midnight reading my 30-minute readings, the ones that were the longer days. So you want to look ahead and glance at your thing. You want to commit to this, maybe pick a certain time of day or fit it in where you can if you have a real busy schedule. But each day you'll start out with a little 2-page reading, and then it will have the extended reading, like your homework reading, and we'll pray the litany of St. Joseph. On anybody who attends daily mass at our parish, we're going to have that 2-page reading done here, and we're also going to have the litany prayer done. So you'll just have the extended reading at home. You'll also be able to log on to the YouTube to watch it from home if you want to do that part together as the group. Once a week on Thursdays, we will get together. So this one just being the informational meeting, but next week, September 30th, we'll start day 1 right here together. So we always encourage you to come. I think it's always better if you can come. If not, you could watch it through the YouTube. And then stick to each day, just really make a commitment that you're going to set aside that time. It's really going to be from 10 minutes to 30 minutes on those long days, but it will never be more than 30 minutes to get through your readings. And then as we approach November 1st, we will do our consecration to St. Joseph. And I don't know if you guys noticed, when they dedicated the year of St. Joseph, Pope Francis actually dedicated the Universal Church to St. Joseph. I remember being locked away in our houses with COVID, and everyone it was the beginning of that, watching that beautiful ceremony. We'll do something similar with our parish. Father Bob is consecrating our parish to St. Joseph, and then you as individuals that are participating in this will have a certificate of consecration to St. Joseph, a very beautiful one with the art. I don't know if you noticed in the back of your book as you're glancing at it, he had a whole bunch of artwork commissioned, and you can see those in there. Also, as you go home this week, you can read through the first 13 pages are just introductions, and we won't cover that in our days. We'll just start on day 1, which I believe is page 13. So what I'd like to do at this time is open it up to any questions that you may have for us with regards to how the consecration will work, or if you have any other questions. Okay. Yeah, and to be perfectly honest, what I did in my book is I love to make things easier for myself. So on each day, let's say day 9, I went ahead in my book and I wrote Friday, day 9, October 8th. And then when I moved to day 10, or whatnot, day 11, Sunday, day 11, October 10th. I kept it so it's real simple, because each day at the end of that, it'll break down where you go into the in-depth reading and the litany and whatnot. So anytime during that day, if you happen to miss a day, of course, like anything, just make it up as soon as you can the next day. But really try to stay committed. That commitment of the 33 days is key to get your heart prepped and ready for the blessings that are going to flow from this consecration. And I really, truly believe that at the end we could have a meeting and each person talk about different things where you will clearly see the intercession of the saints in your life, and where we'll be able to share that in our meetings. Other than today, we're going to do, Father Cam will start with a little teaching for us to review the 7 days backwards. So our first meeting we start, but the next meeting on day 8, we'll review the past 7 days, what we've read, what we've talked about. We'll ask questions if there were things we didn't understand. Father Cam can explain things in detail more for us. Some of the places are St. Joseph pilgrimage sites. And some of the parishioners here have been to some of those. Actually, one of our parishioners is going to be on September 30th at the staircase that St. Joseph built in New Mexico. So it'll be exciting to hear. They'll come fresh back from that pilgrimage here to talk to us. Go ahead. Well, you know, that's a great question. When we did it with my family, there's 6 choices of consecration in the back of this book, and you can read. Some are written by Father Donald Calloway, some are written by saints, some are long, some are short, some come from different perspectives. So you can choose one that most fits your heart and soul, that speaks to you the most. But when I went through it with my husband and my son, I asked Marcellus, these are kind of big words, would you like to write your own consecration to St. Joseph? And he did, and it was so beautiful. And he also drew a picture of St. Joseph. So we framed it, but it was his own version of a kid consecration. So you can be moved to write your own, just like Father Donald Calloway did, or you can choose one of the ones that's already in the book. But that's a great question. I think a picture in your own would be really good for your age. Does anyone else have any questions? Yep.
I did the 33 days morning glory during consecration.
Right.
And in the end, after we had mass and certificate, we also got a sacramental miraculous medal to wear.
Oh, beautiful. Well, you know what? I think that was genius that you brought that up right now, because I'm going to talk to our church and let us do that. I think that's great. We could get a St. Joseph medal or something. If you guys have never heard of it, 33 Days to Morning Glory is the Father Michael Gately. I almost called him St. Michael Gately because I'm sure he's on his way. Father Michael Gately wrote the 33 Days to Morning Glory, and it's done very similar to this. It's a Marian consecration. It's beautiful. It changed my life as well. I went through it several times. But yeah, I think that's a great idea. So we'll go ahead. We can implement some of your ideas as you come along, but that would be beautiful to have a certificate as well as the medal that we could wear and remember. In the Marian consecrations, lots of times there's a bracelet that you wear, but that would be great, a St. Joseph medal. Does anyone else have any? Yeah, go ahead. No, I'm sorry. Did you have a question? So let me clarify. I'm sorry if I didn't make that clear. We only meet on Thursdays for the weekly meetings. But after each daily Mass, they're going to do a brief reading of just the 2 pages with the litany. So it's not a full meeting, interactive or anything. It's just the daily Mass. And you'll see in your, it says, consecration readings live streamed after daily Mass at 6:30 p.m., exception Tuesday, Saturday, and Sundays. On Tuesdays, we have adoration immediately following Mass. And I highly recommend any of you that can attend that. It's so beautiful and moving. We go right from Mass. We don't even receive the final blessing. We stay seated, and the Eucharist is exposed for adoration. So on that day, we won't on Tuesday. But on the other weekday Masses, immediately following Mass, we'll have one of our parishioners come up. We're going to have bilingual parishioners participate in that. They will read that 2-page reading in English and then in Spanish, and we'll have the litany. So those will be on the other days. But on every Thursday is going to be our weekly meetings as we go through this. And then Monday is All Saints' Day, November 1st. That's when we'll run our consecration. And we'll have a special Mass for that with the certificates and a medal, now that you brought it up. And if no one else does that, I'll take that one on myself. That's a great idea. Okay? So in the bulletin, we had it several times through over the months. If you want to get a book, they had 50 extra, but they're selling them as they go. You can order them off Amazon. You can download them electronically. A lot of our parishioners that are going through it had bought their book on their own, so they're not even signed up. You don't have to officially sign up to participate. And what I highly recommend all of you to do is if you have friends or family anywhere across the United States, across the world for that matter, if they get the book ordered to their own home or electronically download it, they can do this consecration right along with you from wherever they're at. They can go onto the live stream and enjoy the weekly meetings together. So I just celebrated my 50th birthday, and it's hard to swallow those decade years. But while I celebrated that, I had 50 friends in town, and I gave them the books, all my friends, some of them Protestant, some of them Catholic, some of them just love the earth. But this consecration is powerful. It will draw you closer to God. It'll meet you wherever you're at and draw you closer to God. And, you know, you can't stop the Holy Spirit, so he'll move in hearts. So I highly recommend you, if you have children or, you know, brothers and sisters, whatever, invite them to join along. It'll be a great journey together. Go ahead. What's that, honey? So when we consecrate ourselves, we want to go back to Jesus the way he came to us. And Jesus came to us through the Blessed Mother. He could have came to us anyway. He could have came as an adult. He could have came as anything. But he came as a tiny baby through the Blessed Mother. When we consecrate ourselves to Jesus, in this consecration to St. Joseph, we're going to Jesus through St. Joseph. And Jesus was raised under the paternal care of St. Joseph, a man with passions like every man, a man with emotions like every man. But we learn his virtues, how he was able to raise, you know, the Son of God as the foster father. He's the pillar of families. He's the terror of demons. He's all those things. So the consecration is basically uniting yourself to St. Joseph in his paternal care. Like we say we're under Mary's mantle, we're under the paternal cloak of St. Joseph. So we're consecrating ourselves, our good works, our merit, our lives, to St. Joseph's intercession as the good father, the earthly representation of the Father, God the Father. So in this consecration, basically what we're doing is just offering ourselves through the intercession of Joseph and Mary, the Holy Family, to draw closer to Jesus. Does anyone else have any questions? And if other questions do arise, we're going to have those weekly meetings like you said. So you will be able to ask questions. They're going to be interactive. Father Cam is going to teach us a little reflection off what we covered the previous 7 days. We're going to discuss together. It's really a great opportunity to grow in fellowship and really in such a large parish to get to know one another a little bit too. So that'll be a great benefit of this as well. So if we do not have any other questions, anymore, then what we would like to do is go ahead and wrap things up. And we are going to finish with the Litany of St. Joseph, which we're going to become real familiar with, in song by Sarah Hallis and Father Cam.
Thank you very much, Shana. Just before the litany, it is very important that we participate in the prayers. If you can come in person for the daily Mass and be here in person, I would recommend that. That is so special. Remember, it's a sacrifice. You can set out these 33 days just to come here. After evening Mass, you say the prayer. Like she said, it's just 2 pages, but it is powerful to do it. There's what we call corporate anointing. When we do this together as a fellowship, it's powerful. But if you cannot, for any other reason, then do it online. But either way, please, the fruit of this consecration lies on faithfulness. To be able to make the sacrifice and make sure you follow the prayers every day and try to live a good life, because remember, it's not a magic. You know, you're doing the prayers, you also try to live a holy life as much as you can, eventually have a particular intention for this consecration, and there is no how you will not get it if you do it with all your heart. Once again, Chana, thank you very much for that wonderful moderation. May we all stand up now. Kyrie eleison.
Kyrie eleison.
Christe eleison,
Christe eleison,
Kyrie eleison,
Kyrie eleison,
Christe exaudinos,
Christe exaudinos,
Pater de celis Deus,
miserere nobis,
Filii redemptor mundi Deus,
miserere nobis,
Spiritus Sancte Deus,
miserere nobis, Sancta Trinitas unus Deus,
Miserere nobis,
Santa Maria,
ora pro nobis,
Sancte Iosef,
ora pro nobis,
proles David inclita,
ora pro nobis,
lumen patriarcharum,
ora pro nobis,
Dei genitris sponse,
ora pro nobis,
custos pudiciae virginis,
ora pro nobis,
Filii Dei nutriciae,
ora pro nobis,
Christi defensor sedule,
ora pro nobis,
olme familiae preses,
ora pro nobis,
Iosef justissime,
ora pro nobis,
Iosef castissime,
ora pro nobis,
Iosef prudentissime,
ora pro nobis,
Iosef fortissime,
ora pro nobis,
Iosef obedentissime,
ora pro nobis,
Iosef filetissime,
ora pro nobis,
speculum penitentiae,
ora pro nobis,
amator paupertatis,
ora pro nobis,
exemplar opificum,
ora pro nobis,
domestice vitae decus,
ora pro nobis,
custos virginum,
ora pro nobis,
familiarum columen,
ora pro nobis,
solatium miserorum,
ora pro nobis,
spese crotantium,
ora pro nobis,
patrone morientium,
ora pro nobis,
terror demonum,
ora pro nobis,
protector sanctae ecclesiae,
ora pro nobis, Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi,
parce nobis Domine,
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi,
exaudi nobis Domine,
Agnus Dei, qui tollis peccata mundi,
miserere nobis,
constituit eum Dominum Domus Sue, et principe omnis passionem sue. Oremus. Deus qui in ineffabili providentia beatum Iosef sanctissime genetricis tuae sposum eligere dignatus es prestra quesumus, utquem protectorum veneriamo in terris, intercessorem habera meriamo in celis, qui vives et regnas in saecula saeculorum. The Lord be with you, and may the blessings of Almighty God, the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit remain with you now and forever. Thank you very much for coming. Thank you very much. Please, like I said, put in your best, and God will reward you for it. Thank you.